Last time, we built an MCP server in Java, and it worked. Claude Desktop called our tools and read live order data. But there was a problem, a big one. Our server trusted everyone. Anyone who could reach it could cancel any order. No login, no checks, nothing. So today, we fixed that properly with Spring Security, OAuth2 and JWT. By the end of this video, your MCP server will be locked down the way real companies do it. And just as important, you'll be able to explain every piece of it in an interview. So let's secure it. Let's be clear about the whole. When we run locally over standard I/O, our server is fairly safe. It's just a child process on your own machine with no network. But the moment we go to production, we switch to streamable HTTP. And now our server is a real web endpoint / MCP sitting on the network. And right now, that endpoint is wide open. Any client, any script, anyone can list our tools and call them, including cancelOrder. That's not a bug, it's a door with no lock. So let's add the lock. Here's the plan in 5 steps. First, the mental model, who hands out tokens and who checks them. Second, what a JWT actually is inside. Third, we make our server demand a valid token on every single call. Fourth, finer control, so only certain callers can cancel an order. And fifth, the money moment, where we watch an unauthorized request get rejected, live. Stay with me, because step 5 is very satisfying. So, the mental model, this is the part interviewers love. OAuth2 has 3 roles. The first is the client, like Claude Desktop or Cursor, and it wants to use our tools. The second is the authorization server, think Keycloak, Okta, or Auth0, and its only job is to hand out tokens. The third is the resource server, and that is us, our MCP server, whose job is to validate tokens and serve data. So say it with me. The client gets a token, the auth server issues it, and the resource server checks it. We are the resource server and we never touch passwords. And here's what makes this powerful. It's not just my opinion. The MCP specification says it directly. Any MCP server exposed over HTTP must be an OAuth2 resource server, and every call must carry an authorization bearer token. So when we do this, we're not inventing our own security. We're speaking the same language as Claude Desktop, Cursor, and every serious MCP client out there. We're doing it the standard way. Okay, the start of the show, the JWT, a JSON Web Token. Don't let the name scare you because it's really just a string with 3 parts separated by dots. The first part is the header, which says how the token was signed. The second part is the payload, which carries the claims, the actual facts about the caller. And the third part is the signature, the part that makes it tamper-proof. Header, payload, signature. 3 parts, 1 dot between each. That's the whole shape of a JWT. Let's open the payload. Inside, there are claims. The subject is who the caller is. The issuer is which auth server made the token. The audience is who the token is for. And the expiry is when it stops working. Now here's the magic. The auth server signs the token with a private key, and our server verifies it with the matching public key, which we fetch just once. So here's the beautiful part. We can check any token without a database, without a session, without calling anyone. It's completely stateless, and that is why JWT scales across 100 microservices. Before we touch code, one distinction, and it's the one that wins interviews. Authentication versus authorization. They sound the same, but they're not. Authentication asks, who are you? And is this a valid token? If not, you get a 401 unauthorized. Authorization asks, are you allowed to do this specific thing? If not, you get a 403 forbidden. So 401 means I don't know you, and 403 means I know you, but no. Remember those 2 numbers because we'll see them both live. Time to build, and the good news is we keep our exact same order server from the last video. We just add security on top. Step 1 is 3 dependencies: the MCP server security module, Spring Boot security starter, and the OAuth2 Resource Server starter. That last one is what teaches Spring to read and validate a JWT. It's 3 lines in your POM file, and we don't touch our tools at all. We're just bringing in the locks. Step 2 is a single line of configuration. We tell our app where the authorization server lives by setting the issuer-uri to our auth server's address. That one line does a lot. Spring uses it to fetch the public keys and to check that every token really came from that auth server. So with one property, our app is now a JWT resource server. We wrote no logic, we just pointed at the issuer. Step 3 is the heart of it, the security filter chain. This is one spring bean that guards every request. So let's read it. First, we say any request must be authenticated, and that single line closes the door to everyone without a token. Then we plug in the mcp-OAuth2 configurer, we give it our issuer, and optionally we tell it to validate the audience claim, so the token must have been minted for us specifically. That's it. One class marked enable web security, and our server now demands a valid token on every call. Let's test it. We start the server and we knock on the door with no token. We send a request to /mcp empty-handed and we get back a 401 unauthorized. The door held. But look closer because this part is beautiful. The server doesn't just say no, it replies with a header that says, here is where you get a token, pointing the client straight to the authorization server. So a tool like Claude Desktop knows exactly how to log in, and we wrote not one line to make that happen. Now for finder control, a valid token gets you in the door, but should everyone be allowed to cancel an order? No. So we add authorization per tool. First, we switch on method security. Then on get order status, we say pre-authorize is authenticated, so any valid caller may read. But on cancel order, we say pre-authorize has authority, the order cancel scope. Now only a token that carries that scope can cancel. It's the same MCP tool code as before. We just added one line above each method. Reading is open, but canceling is privileged. And here is a bonus. Because the request is authenticated, our tool now knows who is calling. Inside the method, we just ask the security context for the current user, and the name comes straight from the subject claim in the token. So our order tool can log who cancelled what or show a user only their own orders. The same tool method is now identity aware for free. Now, the satisfying part, we try again, this time with a real token. We ask for get order status on order 1042 and we get a 200. It works. The order shipped, live data, but now only for known callers. Then we push our luck. With that same ordinary token, we try cancel order and we get a 403 forbidden. The server knows us, but it won't let us cancel. Authentication passed, authorization denied. Finally, a token that carries the cancel scope calls cancel order and it succeeds. That is access control done right. One question remains. Where do these tokens come from? Remember that header from our 401? The client reads it, discovers the authorization server, and registers itself automatically. That's called dynamic client registration. Then it runs the login flow and receives a token minted for our server specifically. Tools like Claude Desktop do this whole dance for you. You just point them at your server and they handle the rest. Your job was only ever to validate. So where does the auth server come from? Two honest options. In production, you usually already have one, so you just point the issuer at Keycloak, Okta, Auth0, or Microsoft Entra with no code change. Or for a pure Spring setup, Spring Authorization Server plus the MCP authorization module gives you one that speaks MCP. One caveat, and be honest about this in interviews. This MCP security module is new and community driven. It's Spring AI 1.1, Web MVC, and JWT only. Knowing its edges is exactly what a senior engineer does. So what did we lock down? Our MCP server is now an OAuth2 Resource Server. It validates a JWT on every call and scopes decide who can do what. Authentication is 401, authorization is 403. You can now build it and explain it. For homework, add a scope of your own to search orders and wire it to Keycloak. Tell me in the comments which auth server you use. And if this helped, a like genuinely helps it reach more Java developers. I'm SPS, your tools are no longer wide open, and I'll see you in the next one.